7 bone-chilling Appalachian family secrets you never knew existed. They haunt you forever. As the sun dipped below the jagged mountains of Appalachia, darkness settled like a heavy blanket. In this quiet corner of America, where whispers echo through twisted trees, 7 family secrets lay buried, each rippling with the kind of tension that makes your heart race and your skin crawl. Old wooden houses, cloaked in shadow, held more than just the creaks of age. They were the guardians of skeletons long hidden, their stories steeped in a chill so profound it seems to seep into your very bones. In a dimly lit room of the old Birchwood family home, the air was thick with unspoken truths. A floorboard squeaked underfoot, each sound resonating like a thunderclap in the silence. It was said that old Granny Birchwood had a knack for reading signs. Some called it magic, others just crazy. Those who dared to listen swore she predicted the deaths of 3 family members long before the ground swallowed them whole. But who would believe a frail woman with wild hair and sharp eyes? Everyone else just turned away, afraid to stare too deeply into those haunted pools. Then there was the ancient artifact locked away in the attic, a tarnished silver locket said to hold the soul of young Eliza Birchwood, lost to a mysterious fire when she was just a child. The townspeople whispered she never truly left, her spirit wandering the twisted halls, her cries piercing the night air. Anyone brave enough to venture close to the attic felt the weight of her gaze, as if she was forever watching, waiting to reclaim what had been taken from her. Suspense swelled like the blackening sky before a storm. It wasn't just the ghost of Eliza lurking. The stories of betrayal, vengeance, and madness kept the fires of intrigue burning. Generations had passed, yet the shadows cast by those buried secrets whispered of an imminent reckoning. Who would be the next to bear the brunt of a family curse written in blood? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Across town, the old folks murmured tales of a phantom dog that roamed the woods, an apparition that protected the Birchwood legacy. They said that if it sat at your doorstep, misfortune would be swift and merciless. A chill crawled up the spine at the thought, yet it only drew more people into the village, eager to catch a glimpse of the spectral protector, or maybe the fortune-teller who claimed she could read the future by the light of the moon. The air was electric, pulsing with fear and excitement. Shadows danced in the corners of every room, and the questions loomed like storm clouds. Would the Birchwood family finally confront their haunted past? Or were they destined to walk the same path as those who came before, shackled to the secrets that whispered through the pines? The answer felt just out of reach, teetering on the edge of revelation, waiting to be unveiled. The wind howled through the crooked branches as night fully enveloped the landscape, breathing life into the murmurs of the past. At the Birchwood ancestral home, the air turned electric yet again, charged with the promise of confrontation. Someone had to unearth the truth, not just for the family, but for the entire community, steeped in fear of what dwelled in the shadows. Downstairs, the flickering candlelight cast long shadows against the walls. The family gathered in the parlor, their faces a mixture of anxiety and resolve. Martha Birchwood, the youngest daughter, clutched an ancient journal, its leather cover cracked with age. She had found it tucked beneath a loose floorboard, its pages yellowed and brittle but rich with untold stories. "Listen to this," she said, her voice trembling as she turned the pages slowly. The rustling echoes filled the silence, and the room leaned in. It speaks of a pact, a dark promise made generations ago by our great-grandfather. She continued, her eyes wide as though witnessing a revelation. They sacrificed a life to save the rest of the family, promised that as long as the Birchwoods held on to their secrets, they would thrive. The room felt colder. William, the eldest son, scoffed. "Come on, Martha. Ghost stories and superstitions? Is it a story?" She blasted back, desperation heating her voice. The fire that took Eliza. It wasn't an accident. It was a consequence of that pact. The room held its breath. It wasn't just a family secret anymore. It was a curse threatening to unfold like a dark cloud, ready to rain down doom. From the corner, Granny Birchwood's presence loomed, her intense gaze boring into the younger generation. Don't tread lightly. They'll come for what is owed. That old locket is not just a piece of jewelry. It's a binding. We've kept it hidden all these years, thinking it would keep our past at bay. But it hasn't. Martha felt her pulse quicken, her instincts screaming that they were on the brink of something terrible. We can't keep ignoring it. She stood taller, channeling courage from deep within. What if we confront the spirit of Eliza? Maybe she knows how to break this curse. A murmur of dissent echoed around the parlor. You want to invite a dead girl into our home? William rolled his eyes. That's madness. But before anyone could argue, the old floor creaked again, this time sounding like a whisper. A chill ran through the room, hearts racing as the flickering light dimmed as if cautioning them. From the depths of the darkness came a howl, low and mournful. The phantom dog had arrived. Its ghostly figure appeared outside the window, a silhouette framed against the moonlight. The same creature born of the very tales that haunted their lives. Those who had seen it claimed it foretold calamity. But to the afflicted Birchwoods, it was a grim herald of truth, lingering just beyond their reach with apprehension bubbling like simmering water. Martha rushed to the window, hands trembling as she peered through rusted panes. The dog stood, eyes glowing like embers, its stance protective yet foreboding. What does it want? She murmured, the question barely escaping her lips before a sudden bang reverberated through the living room, rattling the walls. The locket that had been sealed away in the attic was now swinging, responding to the ancient call. A palpable fear gripped them. The choice was upon them. Would they confront the wrath of their family legacy, or let it consume them whole? And above it all, a low, desperate whisper seemed to echo from the locket itself, recounting tales of love, betrayal, and blood. What awaited them in attic shadows? As they huddled together, it became painfully clear this was only the beginning. What would unfold next would shake their very souls. The tension thickened in the room like fog rolling in over the mountains. Adrenaline coursed through Martha as she tore her gaze from the spectral dog. The shadows felt alive, shifting and waiting, quietly warning them of the storm ahead. We need to do this, she insisted, turning toward her family, who seemed to swim in a murky sea of doubt. William crossed his arms, muscles tense and stubborn. You think we can chat with a ghost? What kind of sense does that make? But his bravado couldn't mask the wavering in his voice, a tremor that betrayed the fear gnawing at him. Granny Birchwood pierced him with her gaze, her voice gravelly yet alive with ancient wisdom. Fear is exactly what they thrive on. Ignoring it hasn't worked. Nothing will change unless we confront this. A moment of silence enveloped them like a shroud. The air buzzed with uncertainty. Facing a ghost, facing Eliza, was an act that demanded more than courage. It demanded reckoning. Martha nodded resolutely, drawing strength from the history wrapped in that old journal. We'll go to the attic. Let us bring the locket. If this curse is tied to us, we need to face it directly. Shuffling murmurs swept through the parlor. It's crazy. We shouldn't. Someone whispered. But no one seemed willing to voice their protests, with the phantom dog now pacing outside. Are we really going to let fear dictate our lives? Martha challenged, her heart racing. Whatever is in that attic can't be worse than the agony of carrying on with this burden. The family shifted uneasily, exchanging glances, and for a moment, the bond of shared secrecy held tight. They were not just fighting for themselves. They were fighting for generations and for Eliza, whose light had flickered out too soon. With a heavy sense of purpose, Martha led the way, the wooden stairs creaking loudly beneath their weight. Each step echoed the agonized cries of the past. The attic door stood ajar, a dark maw inviting them into the hidden depths. Cobwebs hung like heavy curtains, draping the space in a suffocating stillness. Someone checked the lights, whispered a voice, breaking the thick air. Martha's fingers trembled as she flicked the switch. A rusty bulb flickered to life, casting ghostly shadows that tangled around them. Cardboard boxes, relics of forgotten times, cluttered the corners, whispers of memories long buried. And then, amid the chaos of old family heirlooms and dust, there it was, the locket nestled on a faded velvet cushion. Glimmering under the flickering light, it sparkled with dark promise. Martha approached slowly, dread clawing at her throat. The locket pulsed as though it had a heartbeat of its own, drawing her closer. "What did you do, Eliza?" she whispered, clutching the journal tightly. Suddenly, the locket sprang open, releasing an echoing wind that swept through the room. Shadows danced wildly, and the candlelight flickered in a desperate attempt to stay alive. A figure began to materialize, wisps of silver hair and flowy white fabric cascading like a waterfall of lost time. Martha! It was Eliza, her voice echoing from beyond, raw with sorrow and longing. "You must listen." Terror intertwined with awe as the family huddled closer together. What could Eliza possibly want them to know? And worse, what had been unleashed by their actions? The walls trembled, and every crack whispered secrets. As Eliza continued, a chilling realization flowed through the air like poison. There were debts to be paid, and the price was yet to be revealed. What lay ahead for the Birchwoods, trapped in that haunted legacy? Would they uncover the truth, or would they succumb to the darkness? The moment had come, and they stood on the brink of a revelation that would change everything. Eliza's presence rippled through the room, her ethereal form shimmering like a mirage. The air turned frigid, and a sharp gust rushed past, slamming the attic door behind them, sealing their fate. The smell of old wood and musty fabric faded, replaced by something sharp, almost metallic. "Please," her voice trembled, breaking the dreadful quiet. "You have to understand, our family is entangled in shadows that refuse to let go." Martha's heart raced like a wild stallion. She felt the weight of all their gazes, skepticism colliding with desperate hope. "What do you mean, Eliza? What shadows?" The apparition floated nearer, her translucent eyes piercing through the dim light. "There are forces at play, a curse that began with me, and it has not been laid to rest." William shifted uneasily. His bravado now crumbled like the dust in the corners. "And how are we supposed to fix this? You just appear out of nowhere." "It's not just me," Eliza interrupted, her voice rising, resonating deep within the walls. "Your lineage carries the legacy of decisions made long ago. Mistakes that echo through time, bringing torment." Martha clutched the locket, warmth dissipating from her fingertips as fear clawed at her. "What do we need to do?" Eliza's form flickered, hovering between two worlds, a distorted reflection of agony and grace. "To confront what lies beneath the surface. You must visit the place where it began, at the old cemetery by the river. That is where the truth is buried." Granny Birchwood, her brow furrowed with concern, reached for Martha's arm. "Dear, do you think we can trust her?" "Trust? This is our family." Martha's voice cracked with desperation. "We can't shy away from our history any longer." "But what if it's too dangerous?" A voice broke in. Was it Henry, her cousin? Or was it fear masquerading as logic? Before anyone could respond, the shadows deepened, coiling tighter around them like a sinister embrace. "You'll learn the cost of ignorance," Eliza warned, her whisper heavy with foreboding. "The cemetery guards the truth, but it demands payment." A sudden crash jolted them, sending echoes spiraling through the wooden beams. The family jumped, eyes darting to the corners of the attic, anticipating something monstrous. "Not all debts can be paid in gold or silver," Eliza continued, her voice a haunting melody. "Sometimes, blood must be spilled." Terror washed over them, suffocating and raw. "What do you mean? What are you asking us to do?" Martha's voice trembled, panic igniting as she grappled with the implications. In that heartbeat of silence, the shadows morphed into slithering figures, whispering promises of despair. Eliza's pinched face strained with an urgency, her gaze drawn toward the window. "You do not have much time. The day draws near when those who disregard the past will face the full reckoning of their blood." Sensing a shift in the air, Martha took a step closer, clutching her grandmother's hand. We won't let Eliza suffer alone anymore. In an instant, darkness swelled, swirling like a storm ready to break. From the corner of the attic, they heard a soft whine, a distant howl, and then the gut-churning growl of the spectral dog, its eyes glowing like embers in the blackness. "What have we awakened?" William whispered, his voice quaking. The gusts intensified, the shadows growing bold, and Eliza's form shimmered like a fading star. "The choice is yours, brave Birchwoods. Will you step into the truth, or will you bury it deeper, chained to this legacy of fear?" With the weight of the world pressing down upon them, Martha felt a flame flicker within her, a rise of defiance and determination to unearth the buried past. But as the ghostly wind howled and the shadows reached hungrily, one question loomed in the air. Would they be ready to face the terrifying legacy that awaited them at the cemetery, and what horrors would they encounter on the other side? The moment of truth was coming, and with it, the unimaginable. The floorboards creaked ominously beneath them as a silence fell, thick and suffocating. Shadows writhed with life, curling and weaving around the family, each flicker of darkness a reminder of the choice before them. Martha's heart thundered in her chest, a rhythm of fear and determination intertwining like the twisted roots of the ancient trees outside. She had never felt so acutely the weight of her family's legacy, the burdens of secrets inherited like land or a haunting tune sung soft and low. Eliza's spectral form flickered again, drawing Martha's attention back. The ghost seemed to swell with desperation, her features glowing faintly, yet the anguish within her eyes burned brighter than any light. "You think you can hide from it, don't you?" she rasped, her voice trembling through the cold air. "The past demands to be seen." "What do you know about the cemetery?" asked Granny Birchwood, her voice shaking, but resolve flickering in her gaze like a candle fighting against the dark. "Why should we trust you?" "Because I am tethered to it," Eliza replied, almost pleading, as if the regret of untold truths bore down on her. "I carry the burden of how it all began. My death was not an ending but a crack through which darkness slipped. It thrives on your ignorance and fear." The spectral dog's growl echoed, reverberating through their bones, and Martha could taste the metallic fear on her tongue. "What happened to you?" she asked, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "You mentioned blood, what does that mean?" Eliza's visage contorted. A ripple of agony crossed it. "This blood, your blood, is bound to the earth in ways you cannot comprehend. To unearth the curse, you must face my memories, my final moments. Only then can you hope to make it right." "Oh great, more ghosts," William muttered, glancing nervously at the corners of the cluttered attic. He shifted again, as though he could escape a fate that seemed inescapable. "And what exactly does that have to do with us?" Eliza's gaze hardened. "Because, William, your complacency has only fueled what awaits. Consequences don't lie dormant forever." Martha swallowed hard, her throat tight with unshed tears as shadows danced around them like wraiths. What if we go to the cemetery?" she suggested, hesitating at the prospect of awakening even more horror. "What if we really listen to what happened?" Eliza's form began to dim. "You will not be alone, but you must decide, will you confront the darkness, or will you let it swallow you whole? Maybe we can find some answers before we jump into this headfirst," Granny said, her voice barely above a whisper but firm. "This is our family, and whatever this is, it belongs to us." As the spectral dog's growl grew louder, filling the room with a shadowy vibration, Martha felt a surge of determination rising. "We're not backing down. We have to face this." Just then, a heavy thud echoed from below, followed by a chilling laugh that rattled through the rafters. The family froze, eyes widening at the sound that should not have belonged to their home. It was a laugh tinged with madness, the sound of something ancient and unyielding. Martha's heart dropped. What was that? "Time is running out," Eliza warned, desperation creeping back into her voice. "They are already coming for you." Suddenly, the room plunged into chaos as the shadows surged, enveloping them in a cold embrace. Shapes twisted and folded like origami nightmares, racing toward the door they could not escape. "Let us go," William shouted, grabbing Martha's arm. But Eliza stood firm, a ghostly sentinel. You cannot flee from the truth. It waits for you. In a burst of bravery, Martha took a step forward. Then let it come. We'll face it together. But just as she finished, the growl of the spectral dog morphed into a roar, shaking the very walls of the attic. The door rattled violently as something powerful and dark began to push against it. An ancient force eager to reclaim what it believed to be its own as the air went electric. The family felt themselves pulled toward the depths of the shadows, their fates spiraling together. Would they be consumed by the past, or would they rise above it, stronger than the blood that bound them? The journey to the cemetery awaited, and they had no idea of the waiting horror. What would they discover once they dared to unearth the truth? The shadows rippled hungrily, smothering the light in the attic as Martha's heart raced. A sudden crash from below sent heart-stopping vibrations through the floorboards. The laughter, cold and devoid of warmth, cackled again, sending icy terror snaking down her spine. What kind of monster lurked down there? Eliza, we need, Martha began. But the ghostly figure raised a translucent hand. Do not speak of fleeing again. The shadows will only grow bolder if you do. Her voice was a gentle plea, yet it held an edge of urgency. With a deep breath, Martha nodded. Then let us confront whatever is down there. It's our only way out. We need answers. Granny Birchwood stepped forward. We face this as a family together. No more running. Eliza's right. We cannot allow the past to dictate our future. Martha felt a bolt of resolve surge through her family, uniting them against the unknown. William, however, cast a troubled glance at her. What if we end up like Eliza? What if we can't come back? Before Martha could respond, the shadows began to retract, revealing the attic door that now rattled wildly. A thud echoed from below, almost answering William's question. The air felt thick with anticipation, every breath heavy with dread. The spectral dog bared its teeth, growling low and menacing. Eliza's ethereal form trembled with fear. They are restless, and they hunger for recognition. What does that mean? Martha's voice cracked, the weight of the moment crashing down on her. Recognition is a link, a binding to what they've lost. You must be aware of the loss, the pain that ties you as family. Without it, they will forever roam the shadows. Let us go, then, William finally said, the bravado cutting through his fear. Let us show them we're not afraid. With a hesitant step, Martha slid toward the attic door, an electric tension coursing through her veins. Granny followed close behind, clutching a weathered lantern that flickered uncertainly as shadows brushed against them. As they descended the cramped stairs, the laughter cut off abruptly, plunging them into a silence that was almost worse. The darkness felt pressing, a heavy weight against their skin. Goosebumps crawled up Martha's arms as they reached the last step. The hallway below was engulfed in shadows, the smell of damp earth lingering thick in the air like a warning. We're too late, a voice hissed from the corners. It was a voice familiar yet foreign, a dense whisper from within the walls. Who's there? Granny choked, her voice quavering. The walls seemed to pulse, and suddenly, faces emerged from the shadows, a twisted tableau of pain. Sorrow etched into hollow eyes staring at the family in mute anguish. They watched, and the weight of their gaze pressed down like a ton of bricks. Martha stumbled back, heart racing as her memories flickered through her mind, stories her parents had whispered at night, hushed confessions about the cemetery and a family curse, half-remembered dreams filled with foreboding. Break the silence, Eliza echoed, her form flickering as she gestured toward the darkened entryway that led to the cemetery outside. You must acknowledge them. Only then can you find what they seek. With a trembling hand, Martha stepped toward the chill, her breath hitching in her throat. I'm ready. We need to hear what they want us to know. But just then, another cacophonous roar erupted from the shadows, eclipsing her declaration. It shook the very foundations of their home, sending Martha crashing to the ground. The ambient crackle escalated, darkness thundering towards them. Help me, the disembodied voices pleaded, a mix of fear and anger rising in a chaotic crescendo. The spectral dog lunged forward, its howl piercing the silence, forcing Martha to her feet. We won't let you take us, she shouted, each word dripping with defiance. But in the depths of the dark, where their family secrets festered, a malevolent presence stirred, aware of their refusal. What awaited them in that frozen silence? Would they finally face it head-on, or would the shadows drag them back into a past they thought they could outrun? As the darkness surged, a light flickered at the door, illuminating the graves of the infamous Birchwood ancestors outside. The cemetery loomed, beckoning them forward, teasing the truth hidden within rusted iron gates. Would they be brave enough to uncover the buried history, or would the ghost of their ancestry pull them back into the abyss? Time was running short. The air crackled, thick with tension, as Martha steadied herself against the wall. The lantern's flickering light danced against the pulsating shadows, casting grotesque shapes that twisted in agony. She could almost feel the eyes of the restless souls on her, penetrating her thoughts, sending an icy shiver racing down her spine. "Are we really doing this?" William whispered, clearly torn between courage and fear. "Yes," Martha breathed, her steadiness surprising even herself. "We have to know the truth. We can't let them remain lost." Granny Birchwood clutched the lantern tighter. "We have the strength of our family behind us," she insisted, though doubt trembled in her voice. "We need to find out what they want." With resolve, Martha stepped forward, shaking off the disorienting grip of dread. The air grew colder, and the whispering voices began to overlap, a cacophony of despair that wrapped around her like a suffocating shroud. "Help us remember, forgive, what are they saying?" William's voice cracked, eyes darting from shadow to shadow, searching for the figures that haunted their lineage. "They want us to acknowledge what has been buried," Eliza interjected, her face twisted in deep sorrow. "The pain, the mistakes. Only then can they find peace." Dark tendrils of shadow swirled before them, coalescing into hazy figures, distorted faces twisted in grief. Martha's heart raced as recognition washed over her. Her great-aunt Margaret, her cousin Samuel. Memories flooded back, tales of betrayal and family feuds whispered around the dinner table. Was this the legacy they had inherited? Suddenly, the shadows writhed as if sensing her awakening recognition. A booming voice cut through the darkness. "You think you can undo what has been done? You need to know the truth." Martha could barely breathe. "What truth?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the storm brewing around them. "There's a reason we're trapped." The voice belonged to a shadowy form, revealing the face of a distant ancestor, gaunt and hollow with festering rage. "A secret in the cemetery. It binds us, curses you." "Curses," William echoed, as if tasting the word. "What are you saying?" Before the figure could speak further, the spectral dog charged forward, snapping at the shadows, its growl a low warning. "Stay back," Eliza shouted. "They'll consume you if they sense fear." Martha's mind raced. "We have to face it together. Whatever the secret is, we have to break its hold." But the shadows began to shift violently, swirling like a storm, threatening to engulf them. "You cannot change what has already been written. You will pay the price for your family's sins." A sickening chill washed over her as Martha recalled the stories of lost children, of bloodshed interred beneath the cemetery stones. "If we dig deep, if we face what lies beneath, we can't let it consume us." "Then let us go," William urged, his fear replaced by a fierce determination. "The graves may hold our salvation or our doom, but we need to find the truth before it's too late." Martha could hear the echoes of their ancestors pleading, the shadows stretching and clawing at the air around them. Her heart raced as they edged closer to the unseen door that led to the cemetery beyond. The lantern flickered violently, and suddenly, there was silence and eerie calm settling over their tumultuous surroundings. It lingered, a deceptive stillness before the inevitable storm. "Remember us," the ancestors begged, their voices merging into a soft chorus, echoing in Martha's mind. "Remember and set us free." But then, just as the darkness pulsed, a scream erupted from the shadows, splitting the thick silence like glass shattering. "It's too late. Too late for all of you." Martha felt the ground beneath her feet tremble as the ancient curse tightened its grip. Would they find redemption? Or would they be the next generation lost to the Birchwood legacy? In that moment of paralyzing fear, choices unfolded before them like a twisted path through the dark, and as dread churned in her gut, she could only wonder what other horrors awaited them in the graves of their ancestors. The silence shattered like glass, and the air filled with an overwhelming dread. Martha's gut twisted as she instinctively clutched the cool stone wall, grounding herself against the rising tide of terror. The spectre's anguished wail echoed around them, filling the space with an impending sense of doom. What do we do? Eliza's voice cracked with panic, eyes wide, searching Martha's face for direction. Stay together, Martha shouted, her heart racing. She felt an obligation to lead, even as fear gnawed at her resolve. We need the lantern's light and the strength of our ancestors. William stepped closer, his face set with determination despite the fear flickering in his eyes. If knowing the truth releases them, we have to dig up whatever it is they want us to uncover. If it's in the cemetery, that's where we need to go. Now, the dark shadows twisted overhead, hovering like a malevolent mist, the unseen figures of their forebears aching for acknowledgement. Strained faces, mouths agape in silent screams, surrounded the group. Martha felt their desperation, a force that pushed her forward even as cold fingers of dread wrapped tightly around her throat. Let us head to the cemetery. We need to break this curse. She felt a fierce pulse of adrenaline, igniting a flicker of hope against her overwhelming fear. With the lantern held high, its light cut through the darkness like a beacon. They stumbled through the oppressive gloom, their footsteps muted by the thick, ghostly silence. Each step sent a ripple of tension through the air, an electric crackle that hinted at unfolding horrors just ahead. As they made their way toward the graveyard, the shadows hissed and murmured around them. Martha felt a surge of courage. We're doing this for them, she whispered, recalling the lost souls who had been forgotten, those whose wounds still festered under the earth. We can't let this darkness swallow us whole. But as they pushed forward, a steady gust of wind howled, chilling them to the bone. The lantern flickered ominously, casting long, distorted shadows across the ground. It danced erratically, as if sensing the growing hostility around them. Focus, Eliza urged, her voice shaky but resolute. We have to stay connected. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled violently, a deep rumbling that shook the very earth. The lantern's flame sputtered as Martha's heart raced. Was the ground alive with this curse as well? Run! William shouted as the earth split open before them, revealing a dark abyss. Screams echoed from the depths, horrified wails from the ancestors begging for release. In a panic, Martha grabbed hold of Eliza's hand, tugging her toward safety. But the shadows writhed like serpents, twisting around William, and snaring him in their desperate grasp. The lantern fell, flickering out as it hit the ground, plunging them into total darkness. No! Eliza screamed, her voice piercing through the chaos. We have to save him, Martha gasped. But the weight of the curse bore down heavily, draining her strength. The air thickened, thickening with despair and malevolence. Martha! Help! The plea tore through the dark, a terrified cry swallowed by the shadows. With every ounce of strength, Martha lunged forward, feeling the pull of ancient secrets and burdens weighing down her ancestors. As her fingers brushed against William's outstretched hand, the darkness seemed to convulse with rage, threatening to consume them all. What's at stake? Martha thought, breathless as she grappled with fear. What would it mean to uncover the truth? She tightened her grip on William, but could they really save him before it was too late? Desperation rose as she realized the choice wasn't just about family anymore. It was about their own survival. And in that fraught moment, one thought pierced through the panic. How deep did the roots of the Birchwood curse run? What dark history was buried waiting to reclaim them? As the first rays of dawn struggled to break through the sinister shadows, fate loomed ominously. What would they uncover in the cemetery? Were they digging for answers, or had they unearthed something far worse? The screams echoed, twisting through the suffocating dark like a melody of despair. Martha's heart raced, pounding in her ears as she felt the world falling away beneath her. Shadows coiled around William, inches from her grasp. She could feel the icy breath of the abyss whispering promises of freedom. Freedom for whom? She had no idea. Hold on, she gasped, her fingers searching for some solid anchor in the nothingness. The terrified look in William's eyes mirrored her own dread, mingling fear with unyielding hope. The world felt expansive yet contained, a suffocating pit of despair they might never escape. Suddenly, a cold surge, as if the ground itself was alive, jerked her forward, no, backward. The shadows tightened their grip, pulling William toward the yawning chasm. His fingers slipped through her own, and with that, something shattered inside her. A scream escaped her lips, an echo of pure, raw agony. No! Eliza lunged, trying to reach William too. They were all trapped, a tight-knit fabric of lives intertwined in a moment of unspeakable horror. The depths yawned wide, an ancient hunger returning to claim its pittance. Just then, out of the chaos came a voice, faint yet familiar. Martha! It was a soft murmur, soothing yet unsettling. It surged through the shadows, a glimmer of warmth amidst the overwhelming cold. It was like a hand reached out from time itself, brushing against her cheek. Martha! The voice, now clear, was unmistakably her grandmother's. It carried an ethereal quality, summoning her a lifeline through the encroaching darkness. Martha! William's voice broke through again, louder this time. Grab hold of something. Strength in numbers. Adrenaline surged, and with newfound energy, she pivoted, eyes wide, searching for anything, any piece of debris or remnants from their previous life. In that instant, she caught a glimpse of the lantern just before it extinguished. The last flicker of light revealing old gravestones, weathered and cracked, rising from the graveyard soil, like ghosts waiting to be acknowledged. It's there, Martha shouted, pointing towards the edge of the abyss. We need to get to the stones. With Eliza's help, they pulled William back with all their strength, fingers clasped around his wrist like a vice. The shadows writhed, screeching as if their very essence was at stake. Then, as they began to scramble backwards, the ground heaved again, a violent convulsion. It felt as if the underworld were fighting to claim its own. They stumbled, barely keeping their footing. We can't give up, Martha yelled, grounding her fear into defiance. We must uncover the truth. Just then, something shattered above them, an ethereal glow erupted, illuminating the cemetery like a dawn breaking through the night, bathing the stones in pulsing light. Glowing runes surfaced in the earth, swirling with ancient energy. The luminous symbols throbbed with each heartbeat, echoing the desperation in Martha's chest as she reached desperately for one. What are they? Eliza shouted, wide-eyed, as the symbols began to resonate with their fear. I don't know, Martha yelled back, but as she touched one, a surge of energy coursed through her, binding them together, interlocking their fates like ancient threads. With the glowing runes surrounding them in an aura of light, the shadows began to howl and retreat, unwilling to lose their hold. For the first time, Martha felt hope in the air, heavy yet electric. Keep touching them, William instructed, excitement rising. A wild flame ignited within him, but just then, a chilling laugh echoed from the depths of the abyss, overpowering the holy light. Foolish children, do you think you can escape what has already been written? Martha's heart dropped. What did that mean? Were they indeed too late? Time slipped through her fingers as she faced an ancient evil, an unseen force pulling at their very souls. Could they really break the curse? Or had they awakened a darkness that could neither be contained nor controlled? The cemetery's secrets loomed, and their discovery was just beginning. The echoes of their ancestors whispered once more, laden with dread and urgency. Would those lost be released? Or would they all be trapped in an eternal cycle of horror? The answers were buried deep and time was running out. As dawn broke over the cemetery, its soft light contrasted sharply with the horrors lingering in the shadows. Martha's heart pounded in her chest, determination replacing fear, as she felt the warmth of the glowing runes radiating against her palm. The spectral dog, looming nearby, let out a low growl, sensing the surge of energy that coursed through them with urgency. "Keep holding on," she shouted, looking at William and Eliza, and they formed a tight circle, a bond knitted not just by blood but by purpose. The ethereal symbols hummed with ancient power, and the shadows writhed as if sensing the shift. The energy stung at the darkness, ripping away its strength. "You cannot undo what has been wrought," boomed the shadowy presence emerging from the depths, its voice flaring with fury. "Your lineage is steeped in treachery. You know nothing." The ground shook violently, a tremor that rattled their bones. "Then let us learn," Martha cried back defiantly. "Let us see all that has been overlooked. No matter the cost, we will set you free." With that, she pressed both hands onto the glowing runes, praying for a revelation, a glimmer of the past unraveling the twisted thread of their family's curse. As she spoke, images flooded her mind, flashes of history buried beneath layers of pain. Her ancestors standing in sacrifice, a child's death, betrayal masked by love. The very stones around them trembled with the weight of memories lost. "You must accept it," Eliza chanted alongside her, spirit steady, drawing strength from the light. Each drop of blood, each choice though dark, was part of a story that deserves to be told. The shadows writhed like wounded beasts, piercing shrieks echoing through the air. Yet with every anguished scream, the energy from the runes pulsed in response, battling against despair with a resolute brightness. Together, they channeled their grief into the light as they faced the past head-on, determined to sift through the pain and chaos. Martha saw a vision, a girl, no older than Eliza, her eyes wide and terrified. "Help me, please," the vision called out, and Martha felt her heart clenching. This is Eliza, she realized before everything went wrong. With newfound resolve boiling within her, Martha shouted, "Eliza, we will not let your story be lost. You will not be forgotten." Suddenly, as though her voice had sewn together the rips in time, the air shimmered and shifted. The shadows began to retract, each tendril twining back into the cracks of the earth, stripped of their malice. Agony morphed into a gentle sorrow, as lost whispers of her family reverberated through the light. "Set us free," they echoed, releasing their burdens into the dawn. Another crash rippled through the darkness, collapsing the malevolent maw that had threatened to swallow them. The once terrifying abyss now appeared less ominous, illuminated by the glow of the runes. Slowly it retreated, dragging the shadows with it. Time seemed to ripple and reform, a kaleidoscope of pain transforming into solace. Martha took a deep breath, feeling the love of her family past and present binding her ever tighter. "I see you," she murmured to the spirits lingering as decisively as she had faced the darkness. "We hear you, and we honor you." William squeezed her hand. "Together we break the curse." A powerful surge erupted through the stones, a wave of warmth enveloping them, washing away centuries of dread. The spectral dog barked, a joyful howl that pierced through the final remnants of lingering sadness. The grave markers glowed, reflecting the spirits reclaiming their deserved peace, transformed from chaos to calm. The last shadow, an embodiment of sorrow, whispered, "Thank you." And with that, it blinked out of existence, leaving behind a serene hum resonating across the cemetery and fading into the gentle embrace of dawn. Martha, her breath steadying, lowered her hands and squeezed Eliza's hand. "It's done." A tired smile crept across her face, one filled with relief, resilience, and a hint of joy she felt bubble up despite the lingering memories of tragedy. As they emerged, squinting into the brightening sky, the phantoms of their ancestors had been released, and for the first time in years, the Birchwood legacy felt lighter, maps of sorrow finally rewritten by hope. "Let us go home," Granny Birchwood whispered, her eyes glistening with tears of joy and healing. Together. And so, they turned to face a home blooming with possibilities, knowing they had stared down the shadows and emerged into the light. But before they departed, the wind carried a hushed whisper through the cemetery, a gentle reminder that all stories, no matter how dark, hold the potential to guide the living toward love and understanding. And in that sweet morning warmth, as they walked hand in hand, the specters of the Birchwood family behind them faded yet never truly vanished, reminding them of the bond etched into their souls. Now, this is your moment. Make sure you subscribe immediately to our channel, so you don't miss more spine-tingling stories like this one. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm, and let us spread the secrets. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the Birchwood family, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this haunting conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of keeping this community alive.